Welcome back to Procrastination's Pit Stop. I'm really excited today as we do have a TV star with us today, Mr. Erik Thornally. Erik is the founder and visionary behind Saturday Sweets, a groundbreaking brand that brings the magic of Swedish candy to life with a health conscious twist. But that's just the beginning, as I mentioned before. Erik recently starred in the reality entrepreneur TV show called 60 Day Hustle, which premiered on Amazon Prime just recently, showcasing his dynamic journey in the business world as he competed for a chance to win $100,000. When he's not innovating the candy industry or captivating audiences on TV, Erik is channeling his energy into fitness and bodybuilding, which fuels his passion for a balanced and well rounded lifestyle. Erik, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about me and really excited to be here and share more about my journey too.
Excellent. But before we dive into the nitty gritty, I do want to ask one thing because I am curious. You've got this candy brand, Saturday Candy. So, what is your favorite kind of candy?
My favorite kind of candy from my personal candies or just in general.
Just in general.
I'm a little bit biased because I do believe I make the best candy, and that's kind of what inspired the brand because I've had so many cool and unique flavors of candy when I would visit my family in Sweden. And that was where the inspiration to launch Swedish Candy here in the States came from. So I guess I can answer in both ways because of my candies, the sweet strawberries have always been my favorite, which are these big strawberry pieces of candy that taste like a strawberry flavor unlike anything else. And outside of Saturday Sweets, I think that there's a really popular Nerds came out with these really cool like clusters where they're gummy and chewy on the core and then they're rolled in like Nerds pieces and they're really addicting. I got to give them credit for that. So those came out a few years ago and they've been if I have to pick another brand of something on the shelf, I'll probably get some of those or maybe like a Sour Patch because I like the consistency and the texture of most of the Sour Patch candy too.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked the. I was always been a stickler for the Popeye cigarettes. No, not very imaginative. Not very imaginative. Okay. Well, let's get into it. Why don't you share a little bit about your background and your journey, Erik, and sort of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I I didn't really develop an interest for entrepreneurship until my last semester of college. And I went to San Diego State, graduated in 2018. So my last semester there, I learned they had an incubator program, and it was an extracurricular kind of class you could take on top of your regular schedule. And applied with an idea for something in the fitness and health space because I still had a big passion for health and fitness and working out at that time. So it just seemed to make sense. And it was the most valuable and most enjoyable class that I took at San Diego State. I really wish I could have discovered that program earlier on in my time there. But I learned so much, and that was the one thing out of everything that I learned with an international business degree of it was the one thing that I learned that actually seemed I got value from it. Like I learned how to start a business very lean. I learned how to test a product, to test an idea. And that was the most interesting thing for me. So after I graduated, I tried to launch my first business, which ended up being a supplement company. Again, just going off of my momentum and interest for health and fitness, something I knew a lot about and something that I could do a little bit better than what everybody else is doing right now. But unfortunately, I launched that business literally 3 days before the lockdowns of 2020 started. So when the gym shut down, people stopped buying pre workouts, they weren't exercising. So nobody's buying the sports nutrition product. And it really hurt because it felt like that dream of entrepreneurship got robbed from me before it even had a chance to see what I could turn into. But without giving up, I kind of went back and just accepted the fact that sports nutrition probably isn't what's going to work out right now. And I thought about what else could work, what else does have a runway to do something a little bit better than what currently exists here in the States. And I reflected on my favorite childhood memories of visiting my family in Sweden and stuffing my suitcase with as much of their candy as I could fit. And I finally learned why it was so much better than the gummy worms and the gummy bears we had here in the States. It's made with cleaner ingredients. They have unique flavors and shapes, and we don't feel as guilty about it because of it. So when I realized that it checked all these boxes, I committed towards launching a brand of Swedish Candy and introducing Swedish Candy here into the States. And that's when I launched Saturday Sweets in the fall of 2020. So it's been around for about 4 years now. It had very small and humble beginnings for a few years, but I'm happy to say that the last 6 months here or 8 months this year, there's been some pretty significant momentum that's heading us in the right direction. So that's a little bit about my journey with my passion for entrepreneurship and how I ended up where I am today.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. I know that it's actually. I know that you've also got a lot of a story to tell. You were telling me a little bit earlier about your journey with procrastination when you were younger, and sort of how you overcame it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the procrastination, I feel like for me especially, it's never something that I just conquer and then it's gone forever. It's more like living with it day to day and understanding how to hijack my brain so I can avoid the self sabotage of procrastination. And my story with procrastination goes as far back as I can remember. I mean, I have memories of elementary school doing projects that we were assigned weeks or months in advance and saving them for the last night before they were due. And obviously, at that point, your parents are kind of involved. They got to go run to Target to buy you the poster board at 10 o'clock at night. They got to go figure where you can print out some stuff. So it was really a pain. But in spite of that, I still performed really well in school, especially in middle school and high school. And I never had the consequences of that self-sabotage associated with procrastination. Like I wasn't failing classes. I wasn't on the fringe of getting kicked out of the school. My parents got a little ticked off sometimes, but I was still getting good grades. So I lived with it. And I think that as I got into college and suffered a little bit more, those late nights where you're cramming in the studies the night before the test, or you're writing that 10-page essay 1 or 2 days you just started before it's due. It was a little more painful, but I still made it work. So I think that now procrastination, when I think of it, it's my priority is my business. And with just me running my business, I don't even have room well, if I do have moments where I let myself procrastinate and avoid the stuff that I know needs to get done, I'm the one who directly suffers from it. And it really does quite literally affect how much money I make and the success of the business. So there's a lot more at risk right now. And when I think of that, it makes it easier for me to avoid the traps of procrastination, even though I still face them on a daily basis.
Right. And so would that be the biggest way that you sort of keep a tab on it, is just by keeping yourself with a mental check of what it's costing you to procrastinate? Is that sort of the biggest way that you handle it?
I think the biggest way, yes, it is mentally, but there's also another large component of it too when it comes into like the practicality of, okay, well, I know I'm procrastinating, or I know I don't want to have to write this email, but how I know it needs to get done. There's not really a choice with a lot of the stuff that I'm working on right now of
Mm,
delegating it to somebody else, or just if I neglect writing this email, then I'm going to miss out on a wholesale opportunity. And that could be thousands of dollars in sales. So because there's not much of a choice, the other implementation side of it of like what can I actually do to make it easier and to avoid this from not getting done at all is more like the practical side of like where I will try to reduce the barrier to entry as much as possible. So for example, I don't really like sending emails. Sometimes I'm a really bad texter too. It can take me a while to respond to people, and because I'm always like busy doing something, I don't really want to break away to have a conversation. So in the business sense with emails, it's the same thing. And I find that for me, if I just force myself to sit down at the beginning of the day and then at the end of the day for just 30 minutes and do nothing else but send emails, and just get that done, clear my text messages, respond back to people on social media, that's what's helped me recently here to really just avoid it from getting lost by not responding. So I think that if you make commitments in your routine to allow yourself to just focus on the things that you don't want to do, which for me is the biggest reason why I procrastinate, because it's something I just don't look forward to doing. And then making it as easy as possible to do it. So maybe play some music, your favorite songs in the background, so you can actually enjoy the experience a little bit more. Or after you finish, maybe reward yourself with a little treat, nice couple pieces of candy or something that makes you happy and more willing to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the positive reinforcement, scheduling it out, time blocking, all are very good strategies for that. Another thing that you mentioned there, it's interesting too. It involves taking back your power, right? So, I mean, everything in life is a choice. I mean, sometimes we don't like these things, and sometimes when it's an external, an external item that is putting pressure on us to do it, we really get into that, that resistance of not wanting to do it. One of the things that you can do, like a really quick kind of hack to do that, and it sounds like you're kind of already doing it, is just by saying, okay, you know what, I don't have to do this. I mean, this is everything in life is a choice, right? It's only two things in life that aren't really a choice. But when you reframe it as, I'm choosing to do this, I'm choosing to send this email for this wholesale opportunity because, it's potentially worth thousands of dollars. I'm choosing to do it for that reason. Then you kind of, you start to take back your power because you are doing it for you and you're sort of getting that back out. Is that sort of how your frame of thinking is working at that point?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that also, on a broader sense, not just with procrastination, we have so much power over our day to day lives, but it all comes internally from how we think, how we feel, and we underestimate a lot of our capability. So I've learned that in the business sense in particular, but also with my experiences with health and fitness, a lot of how I perform in the gym, it really is like in my brain. If I tell myself and think I'm going to hit a PR on this set, I feel strong right now, I feel fantastic, then I'm much more likely to actually accomplish that instead of the opposite of knowing before your set even starts. If you limit yourself, I'm just going to do 6 reps, even though I probably could do 8. I don't feel very good today, not that strong. That's going to become the reality. So I think that empowering yourself through those positive reinforcement, through just having that self confidence, through repetitive action to know that you've done it before and you can do it again. They're all very powerful characteristics and day to day things we can do to train ourselves to avoid the procrastination, just to become the best version of ourselves as possible. But it takes time. It's not really a simple 1 day fix, but gradually it's a transition that has immense benefits.
Oh no, for sure. Well, like anything else, I mean, like you mentioned, going to the gym. I mean, your internal fortitude is almost like a muscle too. I mean, you need to work it out every day for months on end to really see any real results.
Mhm.
Going into that as well. I mean, it's interesting. You know, we'll go back to this. Go back to your recent debut there on the 60-day hustle. So, how does that play into that, and how did you get that opportunity, and sort of what was your process in that?
Yeah. So, if people don't know, I was recently on an entrepreneur reality TV show called 60 Day Hustle, and it just aired on Amazon Prime. So, if you have a Prime account, it's free to watch. And the show tested 12 entrepreneurs, and we all like battled it out in an elimination style series for our chance to win $100,000. And the show had a lot of guest speakers, really influential people in the business space, e-commerce, in all kinds of stuff. So it was a really cool experience to like learn from people who have walked the path that I'm trying to walk for myself. I discovered the opportunity through a friend who actually works for one of the HR companies that was handling their paperwork. So she had come across the show from the paperwork, and she knew it was about, young entrepreneurs in California, and she had encouraged me to apply. So she sent me the info, and that's how I found out about it. And I'm very grateful for that friend because had she not, I probably would have missed this opportunity. I don't think it was advertised very much, and I never even really knew how to find a TV show, or nor was I wanting to be on a TV show. It was more just something that kind of seemed like a cool opportunity, cool experience, and sure, I'll throw my name in the hat and see what happens. So that was how I kind of discovered it. There was some in-person interview in LA. So actually, I live in the Bay Area, so I drove down to LA and did an in-person interview after my application. They liked me, they liked my business, and then I was selected. So the overall, it was just, we all think with reality TV, like a lot of it is scripted, it's fake. But from my experience, it's actually kind of quite the opposite, at least for this show. There wasn't a whole lot that was premeditated
Mhm.
or that had like an agenda. Obviously, the producers know a lot more of what's going to transpire on the show, but I was never like forced to say anything or forced to do anything that wasn't authentic. And I think that some of the best moments in the show are when people are being completely genuine and sharing that with the camera. And you can really feel the difference as a viewer of when that happens.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. What did you love most about being on the show?
I think that not just with this show and not just with my business, but one of the themes that I'm trying to focus on in my life is to say yes more, to have these incredible experiences and opportunities that when I'm on my deathbed, like I want to be proud to say I lived and I did some really cool stuff. And being on a TV show, starting a business, those are some things that I think I will be proud to say that I did when I'm a lot older. And I am proud of it today too. So that was the biggest takeaway where I'm for most of my life I've been quite naturally introverted. I've never been one to like want to put myself in the camera and be on social media and do put my hand up as the first one. But an experience like this kind of removed all of that inhibition. And I think that was a great value that I took away from it too, where now I just feel more comfortable sharing more of myself, my story, seeing myself on TV, opening myself up to be vulnerable to criticism, to people who, don't like me or don't like my business, whatever it may be. But I think it's helped a lot with just reducing my walls and being more comfortable of sharing more of myself with the world. On top of that, the people are really cool. Like it was a group of younger people around my age. I'm 27, and there was some great businesses there, and meeting people who are all working on the same similar path, but different businesses, of course. It feels nice to have a sense of community because I think that as an entrepreneur doing your own thing, the lifestyle can be very lonely too, where I'm in my office right now and I'm here all day by myself. And then I go to the gym and get my workout done and put my music in, and I don't really talk to a whole lot of people there either. So then by the time I get home, like I haven't really had many conversations, had much interaction with other people. So it's always powerful for me to have a stronger sense of community with people who are doing similar things and similar interests. So that was a good takeaway from it as well.
Excellent. And did you face any specific challenges? Anything that you had to overcome? Like you said, you said you were very introverted. Was that like a big barrier for you? I mean, when you first started the show?
When I first started the show, I was actually really confident and I felt good about how my business was going to be positioned amongst the other competitors. Now, I'm not sure if you want to get into any kind of spoilers or not, but the only thing I was nervous about was at that time, I was kind of thinking of how am I going to look on camera? Am I going to sound like an idiot? Are people going to make fun of me when I'm talking? Are they going to make me look like I have no idea what I'm doing for potentially millions of people to see? So that's what I was thinking about then. But when I see it now, it kind of makes me laugh. It makes me smile. And I think that those are just silly things to worry about in the moment. But they put it together very well and they edited it beautifully. I'm very proud of how they portrayed myself and my business. But the only other thing I was kind of nervous about was the pressure too. There's some challenges and they throw curveballs at you and you don't really know what's coming. So there's times where you got to be thinking on your feet, and that's kind of how they was a big part of the show, is expecting the unexpected.
Excellent. So, what do you think was the biggest thing? You mentioned many takeaways from the show, but what was the biggest thing that maybe you learned about yourself from that experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned about myself from being on 60 Day Hustle was that, for one, I belong. I belong on this journey, and that positive reinforcement of like my sense of identity, knowing that out of hundreds of applicants, like they selected me. I'm here for a reason, whether it's because they believe in the business so much or they just wanted me for the camera or both. But it made me feel good to know that I belong. It was a really big sense of validation. And I try not to rely on external validation to reinforce my own beliefs, to reinforce my journey with Saturday Sweets, or to build my confidence off of anything, because I don't think that's a very smart way to get your confidence from other people. But when you do, or like when you get a compliment from somebody, or when, people try my candy and they say they love it, like, or being selected for a TV show, those are really cool experiences to feel. Those are really cool emotions to process. So it was nice to hear a lot of people tell me that I do belong. I should be doing this, and they loved the candy, and I was great on this show, and that was definitely helpful for me.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it was an awesome experience, and who knows, maybe we'll get to do it again.
Yeah,
I know I'm looking forward to watching the show and just seeing more of that story unfold myself. You're totally right though when you're talking about validation. I mean, it's difficult today because a lot of us are. I mean, from a very young age, we're hardwired to just want this validation, right? Whether it be through social media, from teachers, from parents. I mean, it's just kind of hardwired in there, and it's difficult to kind of look for that sort of that inner balance because the only validation you need from yourself, and it sounds like that you've learned that along the way, which is it's a really good personal lesson to take away.
thank you.
Just digging into the Saturday Sweets now as well. We got Halloween coming up, so that's why it's another thing I was thinking about. Do you think that you'll run any sort of special promotions around Halloween or any sort of like packages or anything like that?
I really want to. I really want to, but in all transparency, the answer is likely going to be no, just because I'm in the process right now of figuring out my next evolution of scale for the business. And it's going to take a few months of gritty work to really lock it in and smooth out some of the wrinkles in the supply chain that I'm having right now. To where, for me, I would love to do some like limited edition Halloween flavors, some packaging, stuff like that. But it's already cutting it pretty close right now on timing as it is. And I think that I have some bigger priorities with going from my current level of operation to the next level so I can meet the demand and be operating a lot more smoothly. And that's more of the priority for long term of the business. But that being said, I mean, one of my top seller for this year has actually been the sour skulls, and they have it's this like skull shaped candy, literally a skull, and they're a year round candy. But a lot of businesses have been contacting me for wholesale for Halloween. They want to prep it, get it in stock for Halloween because it is if that skull shape correlated with Halloween. So that one's a good fit for Halloween, but I don't expect any kinds of limited edition promotion stuff right now for Halloween, unfortunately.
Maybe there's always next year as well. But I mean, that skull candy sounds rather interesting. What you said it was like a sour flavor. What flavor is that?
Yeah, the sour skulls, they're a mix of four flavors in one bag. So the skulls, they're all the same skull shape, but just different flavors and different colors. And they are lemon, lime, strawberry, and orange.
Sounds like an interesting bag. I'm gonna have to go and get a bag for that.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting mix that you've got going on. I mean, you started out in supplements and then you sort of moved out to candy and you're also big into fitness and bodybuilding. And what do you think is the what do you think is your sort of what do you love the most about that candy business for you? I mean, is it just the feeling it gives you about remembering that time when you went back to Sweden, or is it giving the same experience to others? What is it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the big emotional connection for me is that every time I get to share it with somebody, it reminds me of my favorite childhood memories as a kid. And that nostalgia is extremely powerful for me. On a more practical level, and more, I guess, a little more mature sense too, outside of that childhood nostalgia, I've been obsessed with the idea of like walking into a store and then seeing something that you created on the shelf. I always thought that was like a really cool experience to be part of. Something that, if you're walking with a friend and you pop into, we have Safeways here in the Bay Area. So walk into a Safeway, you're like, hey, by the way, I made that thing over there. And just being proud of doing something that's never been done before. That was something that compelled my brain for many years too. And I think that um, those two big things are what drives me today. But also, it helps people realizing, like for me to share candy with them, for them to realize there are better quality, better for you options of candy, of the products that you love and eat on a consistent basis. You just don't know about it yet. So I think that part of it is a little bit of the responsibility of sharing, wanting to inform people too. Like there are other options, especially in a time when our health is the focus on our health and the amount of effort and money people are willing to spend to take more control over their health has skyrocketed. I think it's higher now than ever before. So more people are willing to spend on organic, on plant based, on whatever it may be. And candy is one of the industries that it's really hard to innovate in candy. I mean, you think of like chocolate chip cookies. There's only so many ways you can make a recipe for a chocolate chip cookie, and to say like one person's cookie is better than another's, well, maybe, but at the end of the day, it's still a cookie. And I feel like candy is the same thing, where innovation in that space has stalled for a long time. I do really respect a lot of the healthy candy brands like Smart Sweets, Joyride, Lily's. They make a lot of these gummies that are low sugar, high in fiber, low calorie maybe, but they don't quite satisfy my sweet tooth as much as traditional candy. So Saturday Sweets is this blend of these two ends of the spectrum where you get a lot of the better for you aspects because it's all GMO free, no high fructose corn syrup, no gelatin, no trans fat. And then you also get the other side of it being real high quality candy that satiates you. And it falls perfectly like in the middle between those two spheres, unlike any other candy I've seen before.
No, it sounds like you're building a great thing there too. So I had this thought as we were talking about it. You said there wasn't a lot of innovation in the candy industry itself, but you come from a fitness, you have a fitness background, and you sort of started this supplement chain sort of pre-COVID there. Have you ever thought about maybe mixing the two, like combining, I don't know, the supplements into the candies?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because the supplement space is still something I'm extremely passionate about and something I would love to potentially get back into in the future if things go well. Currently, there are companies that do incorporate pre-workout ingredients and other kinds of supplements into gummies. So unfortunately, I just don't see, like, it doesn't solve a problem that I have. At least
Hmm.
not that I've seen yet. So I've seen protein gummy candy, and I've seen pre-workout gummy candy, and then there's all kinds like the gummy multivitamins and melatonin gummies. Those aren't anything new or special, but from the sports nutrition side of it, the protein and pre-workout gummies, it's kind of like a cool blend of the two, but I have never been drinking my pre-workout. I got a little shaker cup right here. I've never made my pre-workout in this and then thought, man, I really wish I could eat this in candy form. So if it's not something I'm personally like trying to do differently, I don't think I could really get my heart behind it to combine that with Saturday sweets. Other people have asked like if I would ever do THC gummies or make like
Mhm.
weed candy, and I'm not interested in that either. I love kid friendly, high quality, your normal candy. Like that's good, perfectly fine for me, at least for right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned something there as well. You said that you put your whole heart into it and you're passionate about it. Um, how important do you think it is to, be particularly passionate about your business if you're building a business as an entrepreneur?
I think it's one of the most important things to consider as you embark this journey because for a few reasons. One, nothing's ever going to go as smooth as you planned it to. And on the days, the weeks, the months when you're in that rut and things aren't going well, you need to have that sense of passion and that interest to keep you going. And then, two, on the other side, the next point would be that when you're communicating your product, your idea and business to your audience, I genuinely believe like when you are so passionate about what you're working on and it feels like an extension of yourself, people can pick that up. And it means so much more to them when they believe you. When they believe that you created this candy, this pre-workout to really solve a problem that you experienced. and you're not just trying to share with them to get a couple dollars and make a paycheck. It's more about trying to help them too. I used to have this. I was working a tech sales job a couple of years ago. I still had Saturday Suites at the time, but it was really small and slow, and I wasn't getting enough traction. So I had a full time tech sales job with it, and I was just an entry level sales development representative, and I was working for this tech company that was an API management platform. And before I even interviewed with them, I had no idea what an API was. I still today barely even know what it is, and I didn't come from a technical background, and so I was cold calling people, telling them like, "Come check out our, our platform. It does this and that." And then if they ask me like one question or try to take it in one thing I'm not 100% prepared for, I had no idea how to articulate the value of what we did to them. And because of that, I didn't perform very well. I was never hitting quota. I was on the bottom of our reps, and ultimately they had to let me go because of it. But my point is that I remember telling my manager at one point that it's like, listen, man, I'm just having a really hard time grasping what we even sell. And I told him that if I was selling something like a pre workout that I knew, I could tell you exactly why this supplement's in there. I can tell you why it's naturally colored. I can tell you why we included this dose of that amount. It would be so much easier for me to sell that than it would be to sell this API management service. And I think that it's because I've experienced that would be like selling something you don't care about versus selling something you do care about. That is a huge difference in the game of sales and also trying to start your own business.
Okay, well, thanks for that. That is it's very insightful as well. So, what's next for you, Eric? Say in the next year, where do you see yourself in Saturday Suites?
Yeah, Saturday Suites has a lot of momentum going right now. It's a great problem, but it's also kind of a problem where I'm getting a lot of wholesale interest in particular from stores that want to carry Swedish Candy, because Swedish Candy has been going viral on social media this whole year, not just Saturday Sweets, but more Swedish Candy in general. So I'm having a hard time fulfilling the demand right now. And like I said, it's a great problem to have, but still a problem. So that's kind of why I was talking about with the Halloween promotions, where I'm taking things very patiently right now, trying to figure out some of the supply chain questions on how I can unlock the next level of scale. So currently, Saturday Sweets is in about 300 stores across the country. There's about 150 or 200 in the Brooklyn, New York area. The rest are kind of just randomly sporadic. But I feel like if I can solve the supply chain issue that's going to let us fulfill the demand of all of these wholesale accounts, then in the next 12 months, we could be in about 1,000 stores. We could be doing a lot of candy every single week. And that's a dream come true for me. I know that a brand like this has a lot of potential, but it's also really difficult when you're dealing with importing a product that's made all the way in Europe and dealing with FDA stuff, dealing with timelines, dealing with sea shipping. It's not quite as easy as getting something manufactured here in the States. So there's a reason for some of those supply chain issues. But I think that if I can figure that out, then there's a really high ceiling for Saturday Sweets.
I mean, just going on your backstory and just how you've persevered and just what you've built so far. I don't have any doubt personally that you'll be able to figure it out. And I think that actually, I'm hoping I'm banking that you're going to make some healthy candy so I can give some to my daughter for Halloween maybe next year. That's what
Yeah,
I'm banking.
yeah. Thank you. I mentioned how some people ask, "Oh, you should make weed gummies," or you mentioned the pre-workout gummies. One thing people that I actually do really see potential in is a sugar-free or low sugar candy. And it's not new. It's not a completely new concept, especially with the smart sweets, the projects, the joy rides, lilies. They do something very similar. But I think I've actually had some sugar-free candies from Sweden, and they're so much better than the options that we have here in the States. So I do see that on the radar if I can figure out some of the supply chain stuff first.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So, Erica, do you think that there's anything that maybe we didn't cover, or maybe something I didn't ask that you'd like to go over?
One last thing I wanted to mention was that I feel like we need to be a little more patient with doing things that are worth doing. And we live in such a generation now where you can order something on Amazon, you get it delivered in a couple hours. You post something on social media, you get instant validation from all these likes and comments coming in. And we want to think of that same way when it comes to like career and making money. We want that instant gratification. But especially with starting a business, especially with transforming your health and fitness, your body through health and fitness, like these kinds of things take months and years to really reap the benefits of them. And I'm certainly guilty of this too, because you want to get that verification. You do something today, you see the result tomorrow. But for the things that are worth doing, that a lot of people struggle with getting results in, like business and like their health and fitness, it really just doesn't work like that. So I'm trying to have a much more long-term approach to these kinds of goals, but that patience is something that, similar with the procrastination of, kind of hijacking your brain to figure out what works best for me. And that might be completely different than what works best for you. But it's something I try to remind myself, especially in those slumps where, things haven't been going well for a few weeks. Because I get in that too. And even though things feel like they're going pretty well with the business, I definitely have periods of time where they're not. So that plus, being patient, plus having that passion for a business and really believing what you're working on. Those are the things that kind of help you get through the difficult times.
Thank you for sharing that. So it sounds like patience, passion, and perseverance is the key to a good, successful business. Then,
The three P's. That's very well put.
yeah, the three P's. Got the fourth one in there: procrastination.
Yeah, even better.
Even better. Okay. Lastly, Eric, before we wrap up here, what is the best way for people to reach out to you or contact you in case they want to, get in touch?
Yeah, I'm sharing a lot of content on my Instagram, which is E Thornally. So it's E plus my last name, Thornally. And if you want to check out the candy, it's on Amazon. It's on our website. Just search Saturday Sweets Candy, and it'll pop up on both. Or of course, I have links on my social media page. And if you want to watch me on make a fool of myself on TV, you can check out 60 Day Hustle, which is streaming for free on Amazon Prime.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Eric. And I would encourage all our listeners to go out and maybe have some healthy candy. Don't get to say that too often, for sure. Go out and get some healthy candy. And to all our listeners as well, thank you for tuning in to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. And tune in to Tune Up again with more motivational stories. And if you can't find motivation or inspiration, be motivation or inspiration to someone else. Until
I
next
love
time.
it. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate